What's going on, guys? It's Manny here with Yellow Tape DFS, here to give you my take on Week 13 of the NFL. If you haven't done so already, please smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit subscribe and ring that bell notification so you can stay up to date on all the content that we put out on this channel. All right, now, starting off like normal, we are going to start at the quarterback position, but before we go ahead and do that, we're going to show you exactly where it is the smartest way when it comes to daily fantasy sports to target the games you want to target for player base wise. So when you look at the Vegas odds and you see your live projection with, let's say, the Jaguars and the Vikings are at 51 implied total points, right? The Colts and the Texans, same thing, 51. And then the Browns and the Texans at 53.5. So those three games are the ones that are primarily at your highest point production overall. So those are you want to sit there, pinpoint, look at those games, suggest how that game's going to go. You see it, for example, Minnesota's in the lead by 9.5 points in this projection. And what you do there is you're thinking, okay, so if they're winning, they may be running the ball, right? So, and then obviously Jacksonville is terrible against running backs, so Dalvin Cook is just a no-brainer at that point. And then on the reciprocating end, you're going to go in Jacksonville, you're going to be like, well, who's got the best matchup coverage? For example, this week, it would be DJ Chark, so you'd want to run him. Although Glennon is the one starting over Minshew at the moment, I don't think that's going to have any relevance over who the target shareholder would be. All right, that's just an example. Now, starting at quarterback, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson, all within $200 of each other. I think they're all great plays here. I personally may not play too much Kyler Murray, not discrediting him at all as an athlete. It just is a tough matchup. Russell Wilson, where the Giants defense is picking up, I don't see it being an issue for Russell Wilson, but I can see a game script where Seattle takes a decent lead and won't need to be throwing the ball as much. Deshaun Watson, however, one of my favorite quarterback plays this week. All right, you have one of the highest game totals out of the three that we mentioned. Those are the three highest. Deshaun Watson is one of those games. Okay, Houston. Now you're gonna have pair up options with this guy of like Brandon Cooks and Kiki Cootie, but we'll get to that in the receiver section. Herbert, this guy week in and week out is always on target. This guy always puts up consistency, and we like that. Rodgers, I have no problem running Rodgers. Once again, you do have to make sure that we are paying attention to game script here. The Eagles have just been abysmal. All right, moving along. Taysom Hill, I don't mind him having a great performance with Michael Thomas 2 weeks ago going against Atlanta as well. I think that this could recall the same exact scenario. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. Expect the same thing to happen. This guy always and also does vulture touchdowns from Kamara, so I also see credit in playing this gentleman. Ryan Tannehill, another one of my favorite quarterbacks on the slate. Again, going against Cleveland. Now, if you look over here, sorry, wrong one. If you go to look at Cleveland against Tennessee, this is within a touchdown, the difference. So this game is going to stay close. I expect them both to be throwing, running, so I don't mind having exposure to either quarterback, running back, receiver, all of that good jazz. All right, Fitzpatrick, provided Tua does not play, is a decent play as well, although they are not in the top projected games, I understand. But Devonta Parker and Gesicki are Fitzpatrick's Fitzmagic of the bunch. All right, then moving further, Goff is in a decent spot going against Arizona, and he loves to throw the ball. Anything further down, if you do want to take a dart, throw it like potentially Trubisky, where this is potentially the last game that this guy may have his starting position in the NFL due to lack of production. Okay, Foles is going to sit out this one. Trubisky's going to start unless something gets out of hand. Beyond that, I think Foles would maintain the starting role after that, and Trubisky would never be a starter, probably again in the NFL. So this is balls to the wall, all or nothing here for this guy's future. So expect him to try to do something important here. Mayfield, like I said, the reciprocating against Tennessee, I don't mind running him either. Although his targets are a little less potent as Tennessee's targets would be. All right. Then Colt McCoy also I do have some interest because Seattle's secondary is to say the least, lackluster. All right, moving along to running backs. I do like Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, and Nick Chubb, all the top 3 price guys. I will have exposure to all 3 of them. There is argument for Robinson. Not my cup of tea in this matchup, but there is argument to play him. Eckler, I do see him getting that large target share. New England does have a history with getting beat up by the run. It's always middle of the pack, but they always do bad against the run. So Eckler could be in a great spot here. Madison got ruled out before recording this video, which makes Cook an even better play, besides the point. Swift is doubtful. Carson could be a great option if you are doing a Giants stack or if you wanted to have a run back if you're playing a Giants receiver. Obviously, this game script would look like that Seattle would be taking the lead in this game, and running the ball would be milking the clock. It's kind of a coaching strategy throughout the NFL. Beyond that, I do have interest in Jonathan Taylor. Now, Nyheim Hines was in last week and Taylor was out, and they were going against Tennessee, which is bad against catching backs, which is one of the reasons why I like Chubb. But going against Houston, another lackluster defense against the run, with Jonathan Taylor back in, I can see him taking the bulk load of the carries once again and probably having one of the best performances he's had all season. So I'm looking for him to do well here. Booker going to take the starting role because Jacobs is out. 5,500, another great play. 5,500, David Montgomery against the abysmal Detroit defense as well. Also another catching back. I love having that extra PPR adrenaline when you're watching these games take place as you're trying to hit the major money. All right. Beyond that, Kareem Hunt, there's question for him if you feel that he's going to get some targets, some touches, although Chubb has been the number 1 back overall at the moment, but he could be your shot in the dark. Giovanni Bernard, there's also arguments for. Okay, same thing with Hines. Now, I do feel Jonathan Taylor's going to retake the role, but in the case that Hines is and Taylor could just be, for some reason, a decoy, okay, then Hines would be in a great spot. Bernard, I do see with Cincinnati not having an actual quarterback to get a decent amount of touches here and targets. All right. Beyond that, Peterson could be in the mix for 4,900 because this gentleman Swift is out. Gurley's probably not going to play, so Brian Hill could also be a start again, but not for me. I mean, they're playing against New Orleans, who's got a great run defense, so I'm not really too high on that. Then going along to wide receivers. Devonta Adams. I mean, you can play this guy every week. Okay, this guy is, he's insane. And there's not much more to say. DK Metcalf against the Giants. This guy, he had a phenomenal game last week. I can see it happening again. We'll double check and see where Seattle lines up, who's got the best coverage matchup here. And it actually looks like the Tyler Lockett would have the best coverage here. So, obviously, Tyler Lockett's in play as well. Let's see. Keenan Allen, he's a reception monster. He gets a lot of targets. Hopkins, he's playing against Ramsey, I believe, this week. Double check that so I don't put my foot in my mouth. Jalen Ramsey. All right, so that's going to be decent coverage. Now, will Hopkins still produce and get his average points per game? Possibly, but we're looking for the guys that are going to have a higher ceiling for the week, right? If you're playing cash, I still might not go to Hopkins, even though he's phenomenal. All right, but A.J. Brown, I think he's one of the great options that Tannehill will have this week if you're doing any stacks. Like I said, Lockett's in play. Thielen has the best matchup against Jacksonville. If you do feel that game stays closer than a run scrimmage. Let's see. Beyond that, with Fuller out, that brings Cooks up to the number 1, so he'll definitely be in play. Michael Thomas, if you're looking for that same type of target volume you had with 12 targets, 104 yards 2 weeks ago, with Taysom Hill in there, I can potentially see a repeat offense. All right, let's go. Devontae Parker, as long as Fitzmagic is playing, this guy's going to have 1 million targets. He had 14 last week with Fitz. This guy is clearly his favorite, all right? No doubt about it. The connection there is real. Now, Landry on the run back in any Tennessee game stacks or anything you want to do, one player from each side, Landry's a fine play. All right, Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, there's both mentioned for them because, once again, I do think Goff is a decent option because he likes to throw the ball. You can even stack both of them with Goff. That's fine. Brandon Cooks, once again, yes. DJ Chark, best option there in Jacksonville. Shepard, yes, against Seattle. Let me see who has the best matchup going over there. And it would be between Shepard and Slayton. Both guys are in play for me. Fulgham, you treated me so dirty last week. You are the reason why I didn't take first in the contest, and that is at my own idiocy because I played you at flex and not Goddard. All right. Let's see. Anything further down? I did mention Slayton. T.Y. Hilton's in a great spot. Now, he did get in the end zone last game. If maybe this is a potential to see him do something on the rise or do something better again this week, hopefully. I will have some exposure to him. Kiki Kuti, your number 2 in Houston. This guy was a monster last year. If you remember watching him play in the year before, I think that as long as he can stay healthy, that he's going to be a great option. At 3,500, that's a steal of a deal, folks. All right, literally a steal of a deal. Marvin Hall, if you did want to have some options, if you're playing anybody in these games here, for example, if you're running Montgomery, Marvin Hall would be a decent run back as well. Beyond that, do we have any real shots in the dark? Maybe A.J. Green at 3,100. People Jones at 3K. He's in a great spot. If you don't want to run Landry, or if you're running a stack with Baker and Landry, you can also play People Jones at $3,000. All right, now going along to your tight end position, I like Darren Waller. I like Gesicki. Goddard has to be the target there about doing anything against Green Bay because their back is going to be against the ropes. All right. Let's see. Tanyan's a decent option as well. Trey Burton I like at 3,500. Tyler Higbee at 3,400. And then further down, we have Firkser at 2,500. No Jonnu Smith. This guy performed well last time. There was no Jonnu Smith. He went off week 6 against Houston. All right, 28 points. That ceiling is there. Remember, this is GPP. He's probably safe in cash if you want to punt there as well. Fire him up. All right, defenses. This is really plug and play. It all depends how you feel the games are going to go. If you want to pay down, I like the Jets if you did want to pay down. But there are plenty of options that you have to go with here, right? The Seahawks, they could be a great defense. The Bears could be a great defense this week. There are plenty of options. Just literally plug and play whatever you have value left over for. Pick the best one you think for game script-wise. All right, hopefully this is able enough to get you guys into the money. This has been the final look. I can't stress enough, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button. Leave a comment about your favorite play. Tell me how your day's going. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Ring that bell notification. Once again, my cash core plays, the 5 of them, will be 1 hour before lock at noon on Twitter at YellowTapeDFS. I hope everybody gets there, and until then, you guys stay blessed.